Welcome to the Immigrant in Law channel. If you are planning to move to Europe, it is important to understand real estate issues in advance, how to rent a place without overpaying, where to look for proven options. In this video, you will get practical tips on renting a home, which will help you navigate the rental of real estate in Europe. If you are just planning to move to Europe or have recently arrived, it is important to determine right away whether renting or buying a property is more suitable for you. The choice depends not only on your finances, but also on your long-term plans, your residency status, and the requirements of the particular country. For most immigrants, especially at the beginning, renting is the best option. It gives flexibility, allows you to adapt to a new environment, and better understand the real estate market before buying. So, who is renting for? Those who have just arrived and have not yet decided on a city or country to live in. Holders of a temporary residence permit or work visa. Students, remote workers, freelancers who are not sure about the duration of their stay. Those who want to avoid large initial costs. Important nuances of renting for immigrants. In some countries, Germany, France, Netherlands, landlords require proof of solvency, a certificate of income, a contract with an employer, or even a bank statement. In Spain, Italy, and Greece, it is possible to find rentals without complicated checks, but more often through private advertisements rather than agencies. In many countries, for example Germany, the landlord may ask for caution, a deposit of 2 to 3 months' rent. Important, if you do not yet have a local bank account or official employment, it may be more difficult to find accommodation. In this case, you can contact agencies that help immigrants with finding rent. If you have just arrived in Europe and do not have a stable status, renting is the best option to avoid major financial commitments and allow you to change your place of residence flexibly. If, however, you are planning a long-term life in the country, it makes sense to look into buying a property. Different countries have their own rules for renting, and the process can be very different from what you are used to. To avoid unpleasant surprises, it is important to research local laws, typical rental terms, and potential pitfalls beforehand. In Europe, renting is regulated quite strictly, and each market has its own peculiarities. Here are the main ways to search for accommodation. The most reliable ways to search are trusted real estate websites: Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Immowelt, Immobilien Scout 24, France, Seloger, Le Bon Coin, Spain, Italy, Portugal, Idealista, Fotocasa, Netherlands, Belgium, Pararius, Funda, Common European Portal, Rentola. Facebook, Telegram, and even Reddit can be useful resources, especially if you are looking for accommodation without intermediaries. If you don't have the time or desire to do your own search, you can contact an agency. In some countries, for example Germany, the tenant pays for the agency's services, while in others, France, Spain, the owner pays for them. For those who have just moved and are not yet ready to sign a long-term contract, there is an alternative: co-living. This is convenient as the accommodation is already furnished and the terms are flexible. Each country in Europe has its own rental rules. Here are the key points that are important to consider. Rental agreement. Always sign an official contract. Oral agreements can lead to problems. Carefully read the terms and conditions. Who pays for utilities? What are the penalties for early termination of the contract? Deposit and additional costs. In most European countries, owners require a security deposit of 1 to 3 months' rent. Some countries, such as France, require additional home insurance, which is paid by the tenant. Documents for renting. In Europe, landlords often require proof of ability to pay. Depending on the country, you may need contract with employer or bank statement, a residence permit or work visa, last year's tax return. If you have just moved and don't have local documents yet, you can offer to pay a few months' rent in advance. In some countries, this will help convince the landlord. Never send an advance payment without a signed contract. Check the owner. Ask for his documents or make sure he is really the owner. Watch out for ads where the price is too low. It could be a scam. If possible, inspect the property in person or ask someone you know to do it for you. Renting a home is an important first step in adjusting to life in Europe. The better prepared you are, the easier the process will be. Research the market, prepare your documents, and take your time. There are countries in Europe where the rental market is organized more loyal to foreigners. Here you can find an apartment faster even without a local credit history or a long-term employment contract. Spain, comfortable rent, flexible conditions. Pros: loyal requirements for tenants. It is often possible to rent housing with a passport and prepayment. Variety of options, from studios in Madrid and Barcelona to villas on the coast. In tourist areas, Costa del Sol, Valencia, a lot of housing with furniture, which is convenient for immigrants. Cons: there is high demand in major cities. Good apartments are quickly sold out. In some areas, prices can be significantly inflated because of tourists. Portugal, cheaper but demand is growing. Pros: rent is cheaper than in Spain, especially outside Lisbon and Porto. Long-term contracts, 1 to 3 years, but can be negotiated for shorter periods. Cons: affordable housing is hard to find in Lisbon, demand is high and supply is limited. Some owners require guarantors or a long-term contract. Germany's strict rental regulations. Pros: stable rental market, which is well regulated by the government. Large number of options, especially in Berlin, Hamburg, Munich. Housing is often unfurnished. Convenient if you're planning a long-term stay. Cons: high requirements for tenants. You need proof of income, credit history, work contract. Competition for good apartments is very high. Netherlands, difficult but realistic. Pros: modern apartments, well-developed infrastructure, popularity of co-living and temporary housing for expats. Cons: very strict tenant checks. Long-term leases often require a local work contract. High prices in Amsterdam and major cities. As you can see, renting in Europe is not always easy. In some countries, the requirements for foreigners are strict. You need to prove your income, look for guarantors, pay for several months in advance. But there is a way to simplify this process. Consider Slovenian citizenship by repatriation. By obtaining a European passport, you will not only get the right to free movement and work, but also greatly simplify the rental process. Slovenian citizenship will be much easier for you. Rent housing without complicated checks. European citizens do not need to prove financial solvency, provide a work contract or guarantor. Apply for a mortgage on favorable terms. Access to European bank loans. Work and do business freely. No need to obtain a work permit. Live in any EU country. No restrictions related to residence permit. Immigrant in Law will help you. Determine whether you are eligible for the repatriation program. Check and collect all necessary documents. Learn about the rights and opportunities of Slovenian citizens. Go through all stages of citizenship without delays and unnecessary trouble. Leave an application at the link in the description. Get personalized advice and start your path to Slovenian citizenship. Renting in Europe for foreigners means bureaucracy, strict checks and inflated deposits. But with Slovenian citizenship through repatriation, the process becomes much easier. A European passport opens access to housing without unnecessary complications. No need to confirm income, look for guarantors, or pay several months in advance. Contact us now and we will help you to become a European Union citizen. All contact details are in the description of this video. Support the channel with a like, subscribe not to miss useful videos about immigration and life in Europe. Discover the world of opportunities with Immigrant in Law.